For 22 years, I believed love was enough. I believed that if I worked hard enough, sacrificed enough, loved deeply enough, the people I loved would eventually understand why I made the choices I did. I was wrong, because sometimes one lie told by the wrong person can erase 22 years of sacrifice in a single afternoon. My name is Claire Bennett. When I was 19 years old, I became something I never expected to become: a parent. Not because I was pregnant, not because I wanted children that young, but because my parents never came home from a weekend trip. A drunk driver crossed the center line on Interstate 74 just outside Indianapolis. The police officer who knocked on our apartment door kept talking, but after hearing the words, "We're very sorry for your loss," I don't remember anything else. The next clear memory I have is my little sister Lily sitting on the hospital floor coloring with broken crayons. She looked up at me with her big brown eyes. "Where's Mommy?" I couldn't answer. She asked again, "When is Daddy coming?" I still couldn't answer. Instead, I knelt down, wrapped my arms around her, and cried harder than I had ever cried in my life. She didn't understand why. She just hugged me back. The funeral happened 4 days later. I barely remember it. People kept telling me how strong I was, how brave I looked, how proud my parents would have been. The truth? I wasn't strong. I was numb. After everyone left the cemetery, my Aunt Margaret pulled me aside. "Claire, you can't raise a 6-year-old." I looked at Lily playing quietly beside a tree. "Watch me," she sighed. "You'll ruin your own life." My life changed the moment Mom and Dad died. She shook her head. "You're only 19. You should be in college. You deserve your own future." I smiled sadly. "My future is standing over there wearing a pink dress." She followed my eyes toward Lily. Neither of us spoke again. 3 weeks later, Child Protective Services scheduled a meeting. A social worker named Denise spread several folders across a conference table. "There are a few options." I interrupted her. "There aren't." She looked surprised. "I'm keeping my sister." Denise smiled kindly. "I admire that. But you're 19. You work part-time. You've deferred college. This won't be easy." I nodded. "I know." She folded her hands. "Children need stability. So do adults. I'll figure it out." She studied me for a long moment. Finally, she pushed one folder toward me. "Then let's figure it out together." That summer, I packed away my acceptance letter to Purdue University. Sometimes people ask if I regret it. No. I regret that I had to choose. Not the choice itself. I found a full-time job during the day at a grocery distribution warehouse. At night, I cleaned office buildings downtown. Some mornings, I came home just in time to wake Lily for school. I'd sleep for 2 hours after dropping her off, then start all over again. Coffee became breakfast. Dinner became whatever was cheapest that week. I sold my car, canceled every subscription, stopped buying new clothes. The only thing I refused to cut was Lily's childhood. She still had birthday parties, Christmas presents, school field trips, dance lessons, summer camp. Whenever she asked how we could afford everything, I'd smile. "We're a team." That's all she needed to know. Every night, before bed, she'd ask the same question: "Do you think Mommy and Daddy can see us?" I always answered the same way: "I hope so." Then she'd smile. "Good. I want them to know you're taking really good care of me." She'd fall asleep within minutes. I'd sit beside her bed, trying not to cry, because I wasn't taking good care of her. I was just trying not to fail. There is a difference. Years passed. Slowly, life became something that almost resembled normal. Lily grew into a bright, funny teenager. She made the honor roll, played varsity soccer, volunteered at the local animal shelter, at every parent-teacher conference. teachers would shake my hand and say, "You've raised an incredible young woman." I always smiled politely. Inside, I wish they knew the truth. I wasn't her mother. I was just a 19-year-old girl who never got the chance to finish becoming one before she had to become one for someone else. On Lily's high school graduation day, she walked across the stage to receive her diploma. When her name was called, the principal announced, "Graduating with highest honors." The entire auditorium applauded. I stood, cheered louder than anyone. After the ceremony, she ran straight into my arms. "We did it." Not, "I did it." We. That one word made every sacrifice worth it. At least, that's what I believed. I had no idea that years later, one envelope, one lie, and one conversation with the wrong person would make my little sister question every single thing she'd ever believed about me. The accusation didn't happen overnight. Looking back, the signs were there. I just didn't recognize them because I trusted the people around me. And trust has a way of blinding you to the things everyone else can see. Lily received a full scholarship to Indiana State University. The day her acceptance letter arrived, she burst through the front door waving the envelope above her head. "Claire, I got in!" I had just come home from work, still wearing my warehouse uniform. Before I could even set my lunch bag down, she threw her arms around me. "They accepted me." I hugged her so tightly that she laughed. "I knew they would." "No," she said, pulling back. "You knew because you always believed in me." That night, we celebrated with pizza from the little family-owned restaurant we'd been visiting since Lily was 8. It wasn't expensive, but to us, it was tradition. Halfway through dinner, Lily reached across the table and held my hand. "I know you always say you're my sister, but you've been my mom for as long as I can remember." My eyes immediately filled with tears. She smiled. "When I graduate from college, the first person I'm thanking on that stage is you." People at nearby tables probably thought we were celebrating a birthday. They had no idea we were celebrating 20 years of surviving together. College suited Lily. She thrived. She made friends from all over the country. She studied environmental engineering. She called every Sunday without fail. Sometimes just to tell me about a difficult exam. Sometimes to complain about her roommate. Sometimes for no reason at all. Every conversation ended the same way. "I love you. I love you too." I honestly believed life had finally become peaceful. Then Aunt Margaret came back into our lives. She'd always drifted in and out of the family. One year, she'd be everywhere. The next, she'd disappear. As Lily grew older, Margaret suddenly became interested in spending time with her. At first, I thought it was wonderful. Family matters, especially when you've lost so much. Margaret invited Lily to lunch, shopping, weekend trips. I never questioned it. Why would I? She was our aunt. One Sunday afternoon, Lily came home quieter than usual. She set her purse on the kitchen counter. "You okay?" "Yeah." "You seem tired." "Just thinking." "About what?" She shrugged. "Nothing." It wasn't convincing, but I didn't push. Everyone has days when they need space. Over the next few months, those quiet moments became more frequent. She'd stop talking when I entered a room. She'd glance at her phone and quickly lock the screen. If I asked what was wrong, she'd smile. "I'm fine." The words were the same. The warmth behind them wasn't. One evening, while washing dishes, she suddenly asked, "Claire, did Mom and Dad leave us any money?" The plate nearly slipped from my hands. "What? When they died? Did they have life insurance?" I dried my hands on a towel. "A little. Enough to pay off some bills." "And? And what? What happened to the rest?" I looked at her, confused. "It helped keep this house. It paid for groceries." School clothes, doctor visits. The first few years were hard. She nodded slowly. Oh, that was it. No argument, no accusation, just, oh. I should have asked why she suddenly cared. Instead, I assumed she was simply curious. A week later, Aunt Margaret stopped by unexpectedly. She hadn't visited my house in almost a year. She stood in the doorway holding a pie. Peace offering. I laughed. I'd say, for what? Oh, I just miss my girls. She stayed for coffee. Most of the conversation felt normal, until Lily stepped outside to answer a phone call. Margaret leaned closer. You should tell her. Tell her what? About the money. I frowned. I already have. No. You told her your version. My heart skipped. What does that mean? She smiled, the kind of smile that never reaches someone's eyes. It means secrets don't stay buried forever. Before I could ask another question, Lily came back inside. Margaret immediately changed the subject. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Margaret's words. Your version. What was that supposed to mean? There wasn't another version. There couldn't be. I had spent 22 years making sure Lily never carried the weight of financial worries. I'd shown her every tax return once she turned 18, every household budget, every mortgage statement. There had never been anything to hide. So why did Margaret sound so certain? 3 weeks later, it was my 41st birthday. Lily insisted on taking me to dinner. She smiled through the entire meal. She gave me a beautiful leather journal. She hugged me. She told me she loved me. Nothing felt unusual until we got back to my house. Instead of coming inside, she stood on the porch. She looked strangely nervous. Then she reached into her handbag and pulled out a worn brown envelope. The edges were faded. The paper looked decades old. The moment I saw it, my heart stopped because I recognized it instantly. I hadn't seen it in 22 years. The last time I'd seen that envelope, my father had placed it in the top drawer of his desk. The night before he and Mom left on the trip they never came home from. I whispered, "Where did you get that?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. Aunt Margaret gave it to me. She swallowed hard. She said, "It's time I knew what you did." My entire body went cold. I couldn't breathe. Not because I was scared, because I already knew that envelope. It was cream-colored with a dark blue border. My father always kept important documents inside it. Insurance papers, birth certificates, tax records. He used to joke that if the house ever caught fire, grab the blue envelope first. The last time I'd seen it, it was sitting in the top drawer of his desk. After the funeral, it disappeared. I searched for it for weeks. I assumed it had been misplaced while relatives helped clean the house. I never imagined someone had taken it. I looked at Lily. Can I see it? She didn't hand it over. Instead, she pulled out several folded sheets of paper. I've already read it. My heart sank. What exactly did Aunt Margaret tell you? She looked down. She said Mom and Dad left enough money for both of us. They trusted you to manage it. I nodded slowly. They did. Her voice began trembling. She said, "You kept it?" The words hit harder than I expected. I stared at my little sister, the little girl whose nightmares I used to calm, whose homework I stayed up helping with after working 2 jobs, the young woman whose graduation I celebrated like it was my own. She believed it. Not completely. Not yet. But enough to ask the question. And that hurt more than any accusation. I spoke as calmly as I could. "Lily, have I ever lied to you?" She didn't answer. Instead, she whispered, "I don't know anymore." That sentence broke something inside me. Not because she meant to hurt me, because I knew someone else had already done that. Someone had planted doubt, and doubt grows quickly when it's fed often enough. She finally handed me the envelope. My fingers trembled as I unfolded the first page. It wasn't my father's handwriting. It wasn't my mother's either. I frowned. What? Then I noticed something strange. The letter wasn't signed. My father signed everything: birthday cards, shopping lists, even sticky notes. Yet this supposed final letter had no signature, no date, no witness, nothing. The second page was worse. Several sentences looked different. The spacing changed halfway through. The font size wasn't consistent. I looked closer. Tiny differences. Almost impossible to notice unless you were looking for them. My stomach tightened. This wasn't one letter. It was two different documents merged together. Lily! Where exactly did Aunt Margaret get this? She said she found it while cleaning her attic. When? Last month. I slowly shook my head. That's impossible. Why? Because your parents never gave Margaret any important documents. They gave them to me. She frowned. What do you mean? The night before they left. I closed my eyes, remembering every detail. Dad had placed the blue envelope on the kitchen table. He smiled. You're the responsible one. If anything ever happens, this stays with you. I laughed. Nothing's going to happen. Mom smiled. Humor your father? Dad handed me a small brass key. The safe deposit box at First National Bank. The documents inside are for both of you. I slipped the key into my wallet. I never thought about it again. Until after the funeral. When I reached into my wallet, the key was gone. I froze. The memory hit me like lightning. Someone had taken it. Years ago. And until that moment, I had completely forgotten it even existed. Lily. She looked at me. Do you remember the day after the funeral? She shook her head. You were only 6? I barely remember anything. I do. Our relatives were helping clean the house. There were people everywhere. Cousins, neighbors, your teachers, Aunt Margaret. I looked back down at the envelope. My wallet disappeared for almost an hour. Lily frowned. What? I thought I'd misplaced it. When I found it, everything seemed normal. My driver's license, my cash. Nothing appeared missing, because whoever took it had only wanted one thing: the key. Lily slowly sat down. You think Aunt Margaret stole it? I don't know, but I think she knew exactly what that key opened. Silence filled the room. Then Lily quietly asked, Did you ever go to the bank? I stared at her. No. By the time I remembered, the key was already gone. She looked confused. So nobody knows what's inside? I swallowed. There may not even be anything left. The very next morning, I called First National Bank. The manager listened carefully before asking one question. Do you have identification? Of course. And proof that you're listed on the safe deposit records? I think so. Then I'd recommend coming in. My pulse quickened. For 22 years, I believed every answer about my parents had already been found. Now, for the first time, it felt like the biggest secret of all had never been opened. I drove to First National Bank with Lily sitting beside me. Neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't angry anymore. It was uncertain. For the first time in weeks, we were both chasing the same truth. The bank hadn't changed much. The marble floors were older. The furniture had been replaced. But the brass sign behind the reception desk still read, First National Bank of Indiana. A woman in her 50s greeted us warmly. I'm Melissa. How can I help you today? I placed my driver's license on the desk. My father rented a safe deposit box here over 20 years ago. She typed for several moments, then looked back at me. Richard Bennett? My heart skipped. Yes? She nodded. The box still exists. Lily and I looked at each other. It still exists? Melissa smiled. It hasn't been accessed in almost 22 years. What? She turned her monitor slightly. The last recorded visit was... She paused. 3 days before your parents' accident. I frowned. Are you sure? She nodded. There are no entries after that date. My heart started racing. If no one opened it, how could someone have taken whatever was inside? Melissa frowned. They couldn't. 20 minutes later, we were escorted into the vault. The room felt strangely quiet. Rows upon rows of metal boxes lined the walls. Melissa unlocked one side. I'll need your key. I swallowed. I don't have it. She nodded. That's all right. We can drill the lock with authorization. An hour later, the small steel box finally slid onto the table. I don't know why, but my hands were shaking. For 22 years. Every answer I'd searched for might be sitting inside that little metal container. Melissa quietly left us alone. I slowly lifted the lid. Inside, there wasn't money. There wasn't jewelry. There wasn't a will. There was only one large manila envelope and a small velvet box. Lily whispered, "That's it." I picked up the envelope first. Across the front, in my father's unmistakable handwriting, were 6 words, for Claire and Lily, together. Tears instantly filled my eyes. It is his handwriting. Lily leaned closer. So, the other letter? It wasn't. I carefully opened the envelope. Inside were several documents, life insurance policies, a handwritten inventory, their wills, and one sealed letter. Across the front it read, "Open only when you're both together." Neither of us moved. After a long moment, Lily reached over. You open it. I nodded. My fingers trembled as I unfolded the pages. My beautiful girls, if you're reading this, then something has happened to your mother and me. First, know this. Nothing in this world mattered more to us than the two of you. I had to stop. My vision blurred with tears. Lily quietly wiped her own eyes. I continued reading. Claire, you're going to try to carry the world on your shoulders. Don't, you're 19. You deserve your own dreams, too. I covered my mouth. He knew. He had known exactly what I would do. The letter continued. If you're raising Lily, promise me one thing. Never let her feel guilty for the sacrifices you choose to make. If she succeeds, that will already be the greatest gift you could ever give us. Lily started sobbing. I could barely continue. Then we reached the final page. My father's handwriting became larger, as though he wanted these words to stand out forever. The life insurance money is not an inheritance. It is for raising Lily. Food, school, clothing, a safe home. Whatever remains after Lily becomes independent belongs entirely to Claire. I stopped reading. Neither of us spoke. Then came one final paragraph. If anyone ever tells Lily that Claire stole from her, know this, they are lying. Every dollar Claire spends while raising her sister is exactly what your mother and I intended. Silence. Complete silence. Lily buried her face in her hands. Oh my God! Oh my God! I reached into the envelope again. There was one more document, a ledger. Every withdrawal my father expected. Mortgage, utilities, education, medical care, even college tuition. He had planned everything, every single expense. He hadn't left me money. He had left me instructions. Instructions that matched almost perfectly the choices I'd made over 22 years. I wasn't just doing my best. Without realizing it, I had honored every wish my parents had written down. Lily suddenly stood. I have to leave. I looked up. Lily? She couldn't stop crying. I accused you. You gave me everything. And Her voice broke completely. I believed her. Before I could stand, she fell to her knees beside my chair. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't deserve you. I wrapped my arms around her just like I had the day our parents died. She cried against my shoulder. Not like a 30-year-old woman, like the frightened 6-year-old little girl who had once asked me when Mommy and Daddy were coming home. I whispered, "They never blamed you." "So neither will I," she cried even harder. As we gathered the documents, Melissa returned. She smiled gently. "I hope you found what you were looking for." I looked at the letter in my hands. For 22 years, I thought I had. But today, I found something even more valuable. She smiled. "What was that?" I looked at Lily. "My sister." We drove straight to Aunt Margaret's house. Neither of us called first. Neither of us wanted to give her time to prepare an explanation. The entire drive, Lily kept staring out the passenger window. Every few minutes she'd whisper, "I can't believe I believed her." I reached over and squeezed her hand. "Right now, we don't know everything, but we're about to." Margaret answered the door wearing gardening gloves. She smiled when she saw us. That smile disappeared the moment she noticed the envelope in my hand. Her face turned pale. You found it." I stepped onto the porch. "No, we found the real one." For a split second, I saw something I'd never seen in my aunt before. Fear. Real fear. "Can we come in?" She hesitated. "I don't think that's a good idea." Lily spoke for the first time. "No. I think it's the perfect idea." Something in Lily's voice made Margaret step aside. We walked into the living room where we'd spent countless Christmas dinners growing up. Nothing had changed, except us. I placed my father's letter on the coffee table. I read every word. Margaret stared at it. So did Lily. Still, she said nothing. I finally asked, "Why?" She folded her arms. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." She looked toward the window before quietly saying, "Your father always chose you." I frowned. "What?" "You were the responsible one, the smart one, the dependable one. He trusted you with everything." Her voice grew sharper. "And everyone expected me to applaud." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't about money. She laughed bitterly. "You still don't get it." "No. This was about being invisible." She slowly sat down. "When your parents died, I found the blue envelope while helping clean the house." My chest tightened. "So you took it." She nodded. I wanted to know why. Why what? Why your father trusted a 19-year-old instead of his own sister. Lily stared at her in disbelief. "You stole it?" Margaret ignored her. "I opened it. I read every document. I saw the insurance money. I saw the letter. And then," she looked at me, "I became angry." "Angry enough to steal from 2 little girls?" She flinched. "I didn't steal the money. No, you stole something much worse." She frowned. "What?" "Our trust." Margaret looked down at her hands. "I convinced myself I was protecting Lily." I shook my head. "No, you were punishing me." Silence. Long, heavy silence. Finally, she whispered, "Maybe." Lily reached into her purse and pulled out the fake letter. "I want to know who wrote this." Margaret slowly looked at it. I did. Those 3 words echoed through the room. I couldn't believe Dad trusted Claire more than me. So I changed the story. "You forged our parents' wishes?" I told myself it would only make Lily ask questions. "I never thought," her voice cracked, "I never thought she'd stop loving you." Lily stood. Tears streamed down her face. "You watched her raise me. You watched her work herself to exhaustion. You watched her miss birthdays, miss vacations, miss college, so I could have a future. And you still tried to make me hate her? Margaret began crying. I was jealous. No, Lily said firmly. You were cruel. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel angry. I felt sad, because jealousy had stolen more than an envelope. It had stolen 22 years from a woman who could have simply been our aunt. Instead, she chose bitterness. And bitterness never stays contained. It spreads. Before we left, I placed my father's real letter on the table. You should read it again. Margaret looked confused. Why? Because the last sentence wasn't about me. She unfolded the final page. Her eyes stopped on one paragraph. She began crying almost immediately. My father had written, Margaret has always been part of this family. We hope she continues to love both of our girls as they grow. Family isn't measured by what you inherit, but by what you choose to protect. Margaret covered her face. I don't deserve this. No, I answered softly, but they believed you did. We left without another word. I never saw Aunt Margaret again after that day. A few months later, she mailed us a package. Inside was my father's old brass key, my missing wallet, and a handwritten apology. She admitted that after stealing the key, guilt had overwhelmed her. She'd hidden it instead of using it, and over the years, her shame turned into resentment. The fake letter she later created was her attempt to justify what she had done. There was no request for forgiveness, only one sentence that stayed with me. I spent 22 years trying to rewrite your father's love because I couldn't accept that I already had my own place in his heart. Today, Lily visits every Sunday, just like she did when she was in college, only now. She brings her own little daughter. My niece is 6 years old, the same age Lily was when our parents died. Sometimes she climbs onto my shoulders in the backyard, laughing so hard the neighbors can hear her. Every time she does, I think about that old photograph from the county fair, the one Lily left on my porch the day she accused me. It hangs above my fireplace again, right beside my parents' handwritten letter. Not because it reminds me of betrayal, but because it reminds me that truth has a quiet strength. Lies can divide a family for years. But one honest conversation, one forgotten letter, one decision to believe the truth instead of resentment can begin to heal what seemed impossible to repair. People often ask me what the greatest sacrifice of my life was. It wasn't giving up college. It wasn't working 2 jobs. It wasn't raising my little sister. The greatest sacrifice was choosing, every single day, to love someone without expecting anything in return. Because real love isn't measured by what it costs. It's measured by what remains after the truth finally comes to light. Thank you for listening to Hidden Truth Chronicles. If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more original stories of family, sacrifice, betrayal, forgiveness, and the hidden truths that change lives forever. Remember, the people who truly love you don't compete for your place in the family. They help you protect it. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.